Let me borrow your one mustard seed from your pocket of hope. God bless black women. God bless Fani Willis. Because things are so crazy right now, Danielle, that what should be the biggest news is like news item number 5. That 2 of Donald Trump's attorneys have turned, folks. As Danielle and I predicted, they're singing like birds. Oh, they're singing. They're singing the opera. I'm talking about the Kraken, Sidney Powell, and I'm talking about Kenneth Chesebro. Both of them have turned. And we know now, as part of their condition, they're not going to get jail time. They're going to get probation, slap on the wrist. They have to sing, Danielle. And so that should be news item number 1, Danielle. But that's news item number 5.
I mean, I think that what is really important, and I'm so glad that you lifted this up, is Fani Willis knew, right? She knew when she brought indictments down on 19 people, including Donald Trump, that guess what? These folks don't have the deep pockets that Donald Trump does. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't have the deep pockets that he tells everybody that he does, but he's still wealthier than this lineup, right?
That's right.
And the fact is that while he has the money to continue to pay people to lie and to slow down and gum up the legal processes, everyone else does not. I mean, we have heard and watched Rudy Giuliani's legal woes and financial woes play out on the headlines. And so when we're looking at a Giuliani, America's former great mayor, and now you're putting it up against a Sidney Powell and a Chesebro and a Ellis and all of these people, they don't have that kind of money. And guess
Jenna Ellis
who's
is
not
openly saying, give me money. I need money.
Give me money. And guess who is not coming to their aid? Donald Trump.
Shocking.
Right? The very man that they risk their legal profession for, they risk their political careers for, they've risked now their freedom for, is not coming to their aid. So now you have a Sidney Powell who Donald Trump is pretending that he does not know who she is. When in fact, there is a tweet from November 14th, 2020 that is circulating that he is welcoming Sidney Powell and Chesebro to the legal team to, quote, fight for freedom, fight for America. So again,
don't believe your lying eyes, Danielle.
Believe the tweets that I send on my broke ass social. I think that what's really important here is to understand that what makes me concerned, Waj, and while we joke, I am very serious about this point, is that as the walls begin to close in on Donald Trump, which they are, I believe that Donald Trump will continue to escalate his violent rhetoric.
Yeah.
I believe that he will continue to lash out in ways that go beyond posting a picture of a law clerk with Schumer. I think that he will get increasingly loud and increasingly desperate. And those are two things that you do not want to happen with a man with millions of followers who, the last time they took him up on his word, stormed the Capitol building and nearly hung his vice president.
And what we're also forgetting, I'm glad you mentioned that, is this is a man who has failed up in life thanks to whiteness, thanks to wealth, and thanks to celebrity. He has always been coddled. He's never had to face the A word. I'm not talking about adultery, the A that allegedly Nancy May stitched on her
good Lord.
shirt because she has never read Scarlet Letter. I'm talking about accountability. And another piece of news is that a New York judge sanctioned him for $5,000. This is the first time he ever got sanctioned precisely for what you're saying, is because he went against the decorum and starts using his broke social to post these threats, right? To say nonsense. And he was warned repeatedly. And now the judge is like, all right, $5,000, which might not seem like a lot, but it represents something. It represents the fact that these judges ain't messing around, right? And it's a slap on the wrist, but it's about accountability. And as we have seen, as of today's recording, that Trump is in New Hampshire. He's giving a speech as we record this podcast. And speaking about what you're saying is that he's going to get more desperate, more radical, more extreme. Let me tell you what Donald Trump is now proposing, as he is, by the way, also campaigning for the 2024 election, because that's how effed up this all is. This is a guy who's been impeached twice, has 4 criminal cases, just got sanctioned, has lost fraud cases, has 91 criminal counts. His 2 attorneys have just flipped, and he's still running for president. He has promised the folks in New Hampshire that When he's elected again, he'll implement, quote, strong ideological screening of all immigrants to the U.S. One of his criteria, Danielle, if you don't like our religion, then we don't want you in our country. Another criteria that he said recently, he's going to deport all anti-Semites. How does he judge who's an anti-Semite? Who knows?
Is it with a mirror? Or?
Right. Well played. This is why they pay you the big money. But I want to say some other stuff about his speech, but let's just focus on that right now. What people are forgetting is that this man is a racist, a xenophobe, an authoritarian who has praised other authoritarians. I still think we forget how terrible Trump was as a president, and he has now been emboldened and is doubling down. Can you imagine if he's elected again and implements this policy? What will happen?
I mean, I think that what will happen is what we are seeing, which is a rise in hate crimes, which has been happening since Donald Trump came down that escalator. This country, not by our accounts, but by reporting that has been done, has seen a rise in hate crimes against marginalized communities. And that includes Muslims. It includes Jewish folks. It includes gay folks and trans people. And the list goes on and on and on. And so the reality here is that Donald Trump, again, is throwing everything but the kitchen sink, at his constituents and saying, I will give you everything that you want. You want a white racist nation? Also, what religion is it that we have here? I'm confused because I didn't think that we had said religion. There's majorities of different pockets of religious groups. But if you don't agree with our religion, what religion is that? Right?
I'm assuming
it's...
I'm going to take a guess. Family Feud. The number one answer is white evangelical Christianity.
Right. And I think that if we were to quiz Donald Trump on that Bible that he was holding that we know that he does not read, I'm pretty sure he would fail his own citizenship test if, in fact, this is what the new terms are going to be. The fact is that Donald Trump is saying everything and anything that he can. Why? Because the people that he is talking to are paying his legal fees. And we just got finished saying, guess who's flipping because they don't have that money? They don't have a constituency to grift off of. So Donald Trump has to say everything and do anything in order to keep the grift alive and keep his ass out of jail. Those are the facts. Yep. And so, I think that it is important to illuminate just how dangerous Donald Trump was. And we learned, right, by the series of books that have come out, what people stopped him from being able to do. This was like the Jurassic Park 1 administration, where you touch the fence, you see where it's weak. In Jurassic 2, guess what? They fucking take over, right? And there is no coming back. And so I think that it's really important as we're watching all of this play out, and we haven't even entered into 2024 officially yet, that this man is playing for keeps. And when I say for keeps, meaning keeping our democracy under lock and key, underneath the ground, never to see the light of day again.
And allow me to be kind of nerdy, and I have to make a nerd correction. You said Jurassic Park 2. I think you meant Jurassic World Dominion.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
It took a couple of crappy movies to get there, but that's when they actually take over. To connect the dots, and I don't want to bring this up, and I want your take on this, because in this speech right now, Donald Trump, who, by the way, folks, was president of the United States and is running again for president of the United States, said that Viktor Orban of Hungary, a right-wing authoritarian whom we've talked about a lot and warned about a lot on this show, he told everyone that Viktor Orban is the leader of Turkey. He is not. It's Erdogan. In a recent speech, you might recall that Donald Trump said that you need ID to buy bread. He also said that he faced Obama. He did not. He faced Biden and lost. And he also said that if Biden wins again, he fears for World War II. We already did World War II. Thankfully, we beat the Nazis. But if Trump was in World War II, I think he'd be speaking German. Too soon? Probably not soon enough. And so we talk about Biden, and we talk about Biden's age. But how can we not talk about this? The man slurring in his speeches. I don't think he's ever eaten a vegetable. He looks terrible. He has 91 criminal counts, and he's saying this dumb shit literally as he's running for president. And I say this because I did a tweet which went slightly viral as we're dealing with the international hellscape of what's happening in Israel and Gaza. And a lot of articles have come out as of today and this week, Danielle, talking about how Biden administration cannot take Arabs, Muslims, and Elie Mistel finally came out with a piece today that says even black folks for granted, especially when it comes to this issue of Israel and Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a tweet that says you can hold two things at the same time. You got to push the Biden administration to do better, and they can and should do better. Hopefully we could talk about it with what's happening. But at the same time, we cannot repeat the mistakes of 2016 where you say, well, both sides are the same. So you push Biden administration, but then some people get angry at me. They're like, oh, but look how the Democrats are failing on this issue. I'm like, but if Trump and Republicans come, they will not only be worse on Israel and Palestine, as we have seen in the 4 years of the Trump administration, they're also going after Social Security. They're also going to ban books. They're also going to go after contraceptives. They're also going to restrict women's rights. They're also not going to do anything for climate change. So, with all that being said, and yes, you can still expose the weaknesses of the Biden administration, at least you can push the Biden administration, and it is in our interest to push them so they take us seriously, because they cannot take us for granted. But there is no both sides here, Danielle. And my fear is people's apathy and rage, which is very real, is making them succumb to the 2016 dilemma, which you and I remember led to the election of Donald Trump. And meanwhile, a very competent woman, Hillary Clinton, you might not love her, I don't care, would have not dragged us through the shit that we've gone through for the past 8 years.